The Medal of Honor hit the bottom of the trash bin with a hollow thud. Coffee grounds, crumpled napkins, a hero's highest honor. "What the hell are you doing?" The shout came from somewhere in the security line, but TSA agent Johnson just shrugged. "Fake military medals are contraband, folks. We see this stolen valor stuff all the time." Harold Kim, 92, couldn't speak, couldn't move. His Medal of Honor, earned in the frozen hell of Chosin Reservoir, was literally garbage now. Dorothy's voice echoed in his head. "Wear it to Jimmy's wedding, Harry. Let them see what real courage looks like." Now real courage was sitting next to someone's half-eaten pretzel. "Next!" Johnson called. But the line had stopped moving. Passengers were pulling out phones. A woman was crying. Someone yelled, "That's a Medal of Honor, you idiot!" Johnson looked annoyed. "Ma'am, please keep moving." Harold stood there in his sky-blue cardigan, the one Dorothy had knitted with pearl buttons, the one she'd made him promise to wear. His grandson Jimmy's wedding was in 3 hours. He was supposed to walk Dorothy's memory down that aisle, wearing the medal she'd polished every Sunday for 68 years. Instead, it was drowning in airport coffee. If you believe no hero should be treated this way, type honor below. This story will shock you. "Sir, I need to retrieve my medal from that trash bin." Harold's voice was barely audible over the chaos growing behind him. Passengers were no longer just watching, they were angry. Someone had started live streaming. Another passenger was demanding Johnson's supervisor. Agent Johnson rolled his eyes. "Sir, that fake medal stays where it belongs. Security." 2 additional TSA agents appeared like they'd been waiting for this exact situation. The younger one, barely out of training, looked uncomfortable. The older one, Supervisor Williams, had the expression of someone who dealt with difficult passengers every day. "What's the situation here, Johnson?" Elderly passenger causing a disturbance over confiscated contraband. Claims it's a real Medal of Honor. He gestured dismissively toward Harold like he was describing lost luggage. Harold reached into his jacket with trembling fingers. The leather folder was worn smooth from decades of handling. Inside, carefully preserved in plastic sleeves, were his discharge papers, his citation, and a photograph of him and Dorothy on their wedding day in 1953. She was wearing white. He was wearing his dress uniform with the Medal of Honor pinned to his chest. "Ma'am, I'm Harold Kim. This is my citation. I earned that medal at Chosin Reservoir in 1950. Supervisor Williams glanced at the documents the way someone might look at a coupon for a restaurant that closed years ago. "Sir, anyone can print fake documents. We can't be responsible for authenticating every piece of paper someone brings to the airport." She gestured toward the growing crowd. Business travelers checking their watches, families with children pointing at the commotion, a young soldier in ACUs who'd been silent until now. "Look, Mr. Kim, I understand you're upset, but we have procedures. These security measures protect everyone." Harold looked at the trash bin. His Medal of Honor was still visible, ribbon tangled around a banana peel. "My wife died 2 months ago," he said quietly. "Cancer. Before she passed, she made me promise to wear this medal to our grandson's wedding today." The crowd fell silent. She used to polish it every Sunday after church. Said it reminded her that good men still existed in the world. Supervisor Williams shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, I'm sorry for your loss, but she's buried with our flag, the one they gave us when I retired. And she made me promise that this medal, this symbol of the 23 Marines I pulled from that frozen hell, would walk her memory down the aisle today." Harold's voice cracked. "Instead, it's in your garbage." The situation was spiraling beyond airport protocol. Passengers weren't just watching anymore. They were organizing. Someone had called the local news. Another passenger was on the phone with what sounded like a congressional office. Airport Security Manager Patricia Davis arrived with the hurried steps of someone whose day had just gone completely sideways. Her radio was crackling with updates from multiple checkpoints, but Terminal 3 was her priority now. "Status report," she demanded. Johnson straightened up. "Passenger brought prohibited item." Standard confiscation protocol followed. "Show me the item." Johnson gestured toward the trash bin like he was pointing out a maintenance issue. Davis stared. You put a Medal of Honor in the garbage? Fake Medal of Honor, Johnson corrected. We see stolen valor attempts regularly. Davis looked at Harold, 92 years old, wearing a hand-knitted cardigan, holding photographs that looked like they'd been treasured for decades. Then she looked at the trash bin, where America's highest military honor was slowly soaking up spilled coffee. Mr. Kim, she said carefully, can you tell me about Chosin Reservoir? Harold's eyes focused for the first time since the medal disappeared. November 1950, Chinese winter offensive. Temperatures hit 40 below. We were surrounded for 17 days. His voice grew stronger. I was a corporal with Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. When the Chinese overran our position, 23 of my men were trapped in a collapsed bunker under enemy fire. The terminal around them had gone quiet. Even Johnson had stopped fidgeting. I made 7 trips through sniper fire to pull them out. Lost 2 fingers to frostbite on the last run. Harold held up his right hand, showing the missing digits. But I got them all home to their families. Davis pulled out her phone and started typing rapidly. The citation reads, Harold continued, his voice carrying the weight of 7 decades, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. But I just called it Tuesday. A passenger near the back of the crowd whispered, Holy shit, he's the real deal. Davis finished her phone call and looked at Johnson with the expression of someone whose employee had just created an international incident. Agent Johnson, she said quietly, I need you to retrieve that medal. Now. Johnson looked confused. Ma'am, procedure states, I don't care what procedure states, you just threw away a Medal of Honor. Do you have any idea what kind of shitstorm is about to hit this airport? That's not just any Medal of Honor. The voice came from the back of the crowd, gravelly, authoritative, with the unmistakable tone of someone accustomed to being heard. Passengers parted as Colonel Martinez, retired, made his way forward. He was traveling in civilian clothes, but his bearing was unmistakably military. Colonel Eduardo Martinez, 1st Marine Division, retired. He extended his hand to Harold. Served 3 tours in Afghanistan. But more importantly, I know exactly who you are. Harold looked confused. I'm sorry, Colonel, but I don't think we've met. Martinez smiled. We haven't. But every Marine knows the story of Chosin Charlie. The nickname hit Harold like a physical blow. He hadn't heard it in decades. Chosin Charlie, Martinez said to the crowd. That's what the Marines called Harold Kim after he made 7 trips through enemy fire to save his squad. The Chinese had bounties on specific Americans, snipers, officers, radio operators, but they put the highest bounty on Harold Kim. Martinez turned to Johnson, who was still standing frozen beside the trash bin. Agent Johnson, do you know what the Chinese called him? Ghost of Fox Hill. Because he kept appearing where they thought he couldn't survive, pulling Marines to safety, then disappearing back into the snow. Harold's voice was barely a whisper. How do you know all this? Because every Marine studies Chosin Reservoir, and every Marine knows that Harold Kim saved more lives in one night than most battalions save in an entire deployment. Martinez pulled out his phone. I'm calling General Mackenzie. He needs to know about this. As Martinez dialed, the crowd pressed closer. Harold found himself surrounded not by angry passengers, but by people who were beginning to understand exactly what they were witnessing. A young soldier pushed forward. Sir, I'm Specialist Rodriguez, Army National Guard. My grandfather served in Korea. He used to tell stories about a Marine who... He stopped mid-sentence, staring at Harold. He used to tell stories about you, about Chosin Charlie. Said you were the reason half his unit made it home. Harold blinked. What was your grandfather's name? Miguel Rodriguez, 2nd Infantry Division. Harold's face crumpled. Miguel. I remember Miguel. 19 years old. Carried a picture of his girl in his helmet. Rodriguez nodded, tears in his eyes. That was my grandmother. The airport terminal had become something it was never designed to be. A place of remembrance, recognition, and reckoning. Johnson, still holding the trash bin, looked around at the crowd like he'd stumbled into someone else's nightmare. Colonel Martinez, Davis said, What exactly are you telling me? Martinez lowered his phone. I'm telling you that your TSA agent just threw away the Medal of Honor of one of the most decorated Marines in Korean War history, and I'm telling you that the Secretary of Defense is going to want to know why. Martinez's phone call connected to a number that most people couldn't reach on their best day. General Mackenzie? Colonel Martinez. Sir, I need you to verify something urgent. Harold Kim, Medal of Honor recipient, Chosin Reservoir. The pause was brief. Yes, sir, that Harold Kim. He's standing in front of me at Denver International Airport, and TSA just threw his Medal of Honor in the garbage. Another pause, longer this time. Sir, I think you need to make some calls. Martinez hung up and looked at the crowd that had gathered. What started as angry passengers had become something else entirely. Witnesses to history being disrespected and then recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, Martinez announced, Harold Kim isn't just a Medal of Honor recipient. According to military records, he's one of only 3 Korean War veterans still alive who single-handedly saved more than 20 lives in a single action. He gestured toward Harold, who was still staring at the trash bin containing his medal. November 27, 1950, Chinese forces launched a massive offensive at Chosin Reservoir. Harold's unit was overrun. 23 Marines trapped in a collapsed bunker, surrounded by enemy forces, temperatures 40 degrees below zero. The terminal was dead silent now. Even the background airport noise seemed muted. Harold Kim made 7 trips through sniper fire. 7, each time carrying wounded Marines to safety. On the last trip, the bunker collapsed completely. He dug through frozen rubble with his bare hands to pull out the last 2 Marines. Martinez pulled up something on his phone. The Chinese put a 10,000 yuan bounty on him, dead or alive. That was more money than most Chinese soldiers saw in a year. Harold finally spoke. They called me Ghost of Fox Hill because I kept disappearing into the snow. But I wasn't a ghost. I was just terrified. Terrified that if I stopped moving, I'd realize how hopeless it all was. A woman in the crowd wiped tears from her eyes. How many men did you save? 23 that night. But over the course of the war, Harold paused, doing math he'd tried to forget. The Army kept records. They said 127 American soldiers made it home because of actions I took over 13 months of combat. The number hung in the air like a prayer. Johnson, still standing beside the trash bin, looked like he wanted to disappear. Davis was on her radio, speaking in urgent whispers to someone higher up the chain of command. Specialist Rodriguez stepped forward. Sir, my grandfather said something else about you. He said you never talked about what you did. Said you just wanted to go home and forget. Harold nodded. For 70 years, I tried to forget. Dorothy, my wife, she's the one who made me remember that forgetting dishonors the dead. She made me promise to keep their stories alive. He looked at the trash bin again. And now their medal is in the garbage. Martinez's phone rang. He answered immediately. Colonel Martinez. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, he's here. Understood. He hung up and looked at Harold with something approaching reverence. Mr. Kim. That was the Secretary of Defense. He's en route. The first sign that something unprecedented was happening came when airport security began cordoning off Terminal 3. Not just the security checkpoint, the entire terminal. Passengers were being rerouted, flights delayed, and federal agents in dark suits appeared from nowhere. Davis was on 3 different phones simultaneously, coordinating with agencies that most airport managers never dealt with. The TSA regional director was en route. The airport director had been pulled out of a budget meeting. Someone from the Pentagon was flying in. But the call that changed everything came at 2:47 p.m. This is Secretary Austin's advance team. We need Terminal 3 cleared for official arrival in 20 minutes. Harold sat in a chair that someone had brought him, still wearing Dorothy's sky blue cardigan, still staring at the trash bin that contained his Medal of Honor. The crowd around him had grown to over 200 people, but they maintained a respectful distance, like he was sitting in a sacred space. Johnson had been relieved of duty and escorted away. His replacement, a senior TSA agent with 20 years of experience, had retrieved the Medal of Honor from the trash and was attempting to clean it with bottled water and paper towels. "Sir," she said to Harold, "I've gotten most of the coffee off, but the ribbon is stained." Harold took the medal in his hands. The ribbon was indeed stained brown, and it smelled like airport garbage. Dorothy's polished perfection was gone. 70 years, he whispered. She polished this for 70 years. At exactly 3:07 p.m., the Secretary of Defense arrived. Lloyd Austin didn't enter like a politician making an appearance. He entered like a soldier paying respects. His security detail maintained a perimeter, but Austin walked directly to Harold, removed his hat, and stood at attention. "Harold Kim?" Harold tried to stand, but Austin placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Sir, please remain seated. I'm Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense." He paused. "And I'm here to apologize on behalf of the United States government." The terminal was absolutely silent. "Mr. Kim, what happened here today is unacceptable. It's a disgrace to everything you've sacrificed for this country, and it will never happen again." Austin turned to address the crowd that had gathered. "Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the presence of an American hero. Harold Kim saved 127 American lives during the Korean War. He earned the Medal of Honor through actions so extraordinary that military historians still study them today." Austin gestured toward the medal in Harold's hands. "That Medal of Honor represents the highest ideals of American service. It should never have been treated as garbage. Harold Kim should never have been treated as anything less than the hero he is." Austin knelt beside Harold's chair. "Sir, I understand you're traveling to your grandson's wedding, and I understand your wife made you promise to wear this medal." Harold nodded, unable to speak. "Well, sir, Dorothy's promise is going to be kept, but not with a medal that's been disrespected." Austin gestured to an aide who brought forward a presentation case. "This is my personal Medal of Honor display case. And inside is a replacement medal, ribbon, and citation that I personally authorized this afternoon." Harold stared at the case. "Sir, I can't accept that." "Yes, you can. Because Dorothy was right. Your grandson needs to see what real courage looks like. And America needs to remember that heroes don't always come with fanfare. Sometimes they come wearing hand-knitted cardigans and carrying promises to the dead." What happened next had never occurred in TSA history. Secretary Austin personally escorted Harold through security. Not around it, not past it, through it, with every TSA agent at Denver International Airport standing at attention as they passed. Harold's flight was held for 43 minutes. Not because of delays or mechanical issues, but because the Secretary of Defense was ensuring that a 92-year-old Korean War hero made it to his grandson's wedding with dignity intact. The airline upgraded Harold to first class. The pilot, a former Air Force officer, personally welcomed him aboard and announced to the entire plane that they were honored to be flying with Medal of Honor recipient Harold Kim. Passengers applauded for 3 straight minutes. But the most important moment came as Harold was boarding. Secretary Austin handed him a sealed letter. "This is from the President," Austin said. "He wanted you to know that your service hasn't been forgotten. And he wanted to ensure that what happened today leads to immediate policy changes." Harold opened the letter with trembling fingers. Inside was a handwritten note and an official directive. The directive established new TSA protocols for military medals and decorations. Every TSA agent would receive training on military honors, and a special position would be created, TSA Military Liaison, responsible for ensuring that veterans never again faced what Harold had endured. But the handwritten note was simpler. "Harold, Dorothy was right. Your grandson needs to see what courage looks like. Thank you for showing us all. Joe Biden." As Harold's plane taxied toward takeoff, he looked down at the new Medal of Honor in its presentation case. It was identical to the one that had been thrown away, except for one detail. The ribbon was perfect, just the way Dorothy would have wanted it. 3 hours later, Harold Kim walked his memory down the aisle at his grandson's wedding. The Medal of Honor caught the light from the church windows, and for just a moment he could swear he heard Dorothy's voice. "I'm so proud of you, Harry." The TSA agent who had thrown away a hero's medal was terminated that evening. The system that allowed such disrespect was changed forever. And a 92-year-old Korean War veteran kept a promise to his wife while teaching America what dignity looks like. Some promises are worth keeping no matter how long it takes. Some medals are worth more than the metal they're made from, and some heroes wear hand-knitted cardigans and carry the weight of 127 saved lives like a sacred trust. If you typed honor earlier, thank you. If this moved you, subscribe for more stories of those who deserve better. And remember, real courage doesn't seek recognition. It just keeps promises to the dead. Until next time, some battles are worth fighting, even at 30,000 feet.